Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our productivity tools for your organization training with Google Civics. We're going to give it a few minutes for folks to jump on. So make sure you grab a sip of water, your notebook. Don't feel like you have to take furious notes. You can go back to these slides later, but we'll give it just a couple of minutes for folks to tune in and sign on. All right. Thanks, everyone, so much for joining our training today. My name's Maria, and I'm joined by the rest of the Civics Outreach team here to talk to you all about productivity tools for your organization, whether that's on the Hill, all across the country, or at different advocacy groups and nonprofits. We're going to show you all the tools that you can use in your Google Suite that can help your organization. To kick us off, I want to start with a very moving video from actually one of our very own on the Brand Studio team here at Google. So I will cue that up and we're going to take a listen.
I'm what's called a coda. My parents were both born deaf. I was not. When people in the hearing world learn that about me, they always want to know more.
Start out, you can go ahead and then go out with your hand.
I've always had one foot in the deaf world and one in the hearing world. I translated a lot for my parents. It made us closer. Now that it's been over a year since we've seen each other in person, communication is more important than ever. Especially with this guy.
Who is that, Owen? Who is that? Thank you!
It's their first time being grandparents, so they don't want to miss a single moment. And I don't either. We can't wait for you to meet him.
Such a moving piece. And, it just really shows how the tools that we've had over the past year have really brought us together in different ways. And today we'll talk a little bit more about Meet and some of the tools that you saw, Tony and his family use. I think it's so relevant to what's going on, and it's so special and so touching. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Andrea. And she's going to talk a little bit more about all the tools that we're going to talk about today and how you can use them better.
Thanks, Maria. What a moving and great video we were able to watch. As Maria said, I'm Andrea Holterman. I'm on Google Civics Outreach team. And today we're going to go over a few of the Google products here that make up Drive. We really believe these tools are essential in driving productivity, especially in a remote work environment. Many of you are probably already familiar with some of these tools, but if you are not, no worries. We're going to go through each individually and leave you with some really helpful tips. So some of you may be asking, why should I use Google Drive? I already use Microsoft Office or some other application, and I'm really familiar with it. So I would say for a few reasons. First of all, Google Drive products are web-based, which allows multiple people to access the same file at the same time, which makes it really seamless and really helps you drive maximum collaboration. Another thing is that it allows you to work from anywhere. So whether that's on your desktop, on your computer, from a laptop, tablet, mobile phone, it's all web-based. So any changes made on a device will instantly be applied and visible from any other device. And then lastly, because we don't believe you should compromise your security for greater collaboration, so Google Drive gives you full control over who can see, edit, share, copy, or print your files. So those who need it have access to it, and you can change levels of access as you go. So again, some of you may be saying, I'm used to Microsoft Office. Why would I switch over to Drive? All of our products, though, you can actually convert from Docs to Microsoft Word and then vice versa. So it's really easy to create on a Word document and then convert it over to a Google Doc or vice versa. And then another really important feature of these Drive products is that you can really easily manage the level of access to documents, spreadsheets, presentations, etc. So 3 sort of main things you can have control over. First of all, who has access to it. So you can actually just add in the email of anyone that you would actually like to grant access to the document. You can choose to invite within the file, or you can send them a link that they can use to access it directly. The next thing is managing editing rights. So here you can determine how much permission you would like to grant them. You can choose to allow them to view the file, make suggestions through comments, or actually edit the document directly. And then lastly, who can copy/print. So if you might be sharing a sensitive document that you don't want leaked or distributed, you can restrict the ability to copy or print that file for an additional level of security. So specifically talking about Google Docs is your traditional word processing service in that it allows you to create, edit, share, and print text and image-based documents. So you can use this tool to draft memos, posts, talking points, press releases, etc. And again, it's really easy to collaborate on it and convert it from a Word file to a Google Doc. The next one is Google Sheets. Sheets is your traditional spreadsheet service. Because Sheets lives on the web, you're also able to connect it to other web-based services. So you can sync it with other data, including from sources like Twitter, Facebook, and other apps. And it's a really easy way. You can actually integrate Google Sheets into some other CRM services that might add some additional utility. The next one is slides. So that is your traditional presentation program. So it makes your ideas really shine with a variety of presentation themes, has hundreds of fonts, embedded videos, animations, and more. You can access, create, and edit your presentations from wherever you go, from your phone, your tablet, your computer. Even when there's no connection, you can actually edit offline, which is a really great way if you don't have any service, but you really need to, you're under a deadline and you need to make some last edits to a deck. You can really easily do that on slides. And then the last, or second to last one, is Google Calendar. So that's a great way to keep track of your schedule and other people's schedules simultaneously. So you can share your main calendar with someone so they can really easily find your schedule. You can create a calendar that multiple people can edit, like a family calendar or an office calendar. And then you can actually add someone like an administrative assistant as a delegate of your calendar so they can schedule and edit events for you. Another great feature is the ability to send a daily agenda to either your or your boss's inbox automatically every morning. It's really easy to do that. It's just one click and then it happens every morning for you. And then lastly, you can even grant viewing privileges to your bosses or a colleague's calendar. This will allow you to see the availability of others without having to worry about accidentally moving things around on their calendar. This is really helpful when you're trying to coordinate times for a team call or for a call with external stakeholders. And then lastly, Google Forms. That's our survey administration software. So there are a ton of ways to utilize this to get feedback from your team or your stakeholders. You can manage event registrations, whip up a quick poll, collect email addresses for a newsletter, create a pop quiz, and so much more. You can even use your own photo or logo, and Forms will pick just the right colors to complete your own unique form, or you can actually choose from a set of curated themes to set the tone for your form. You can also choose from a bunch of different question options, whether it's multiple choice to drop downs to a linear scale. And you can add images and YouTube videos to really build out the form and make it a lot more interactive. Forms is also responsive, so that means it's easy to make, edit, and respond to forms on screens both big and small. And then finally, responses to your surveys are really neatly and automatically collected in Forms with real-time response info and charts. And you can actually take your data to the next level by viewing it all really seamlessly in Google Sheets. And so that's it for some of these Drive tools. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Erica, who's going to talk about Meet.
Hello. I'm so excited to talk with you today about how Google Meet can help you and your organization stay connected with video meetings for everyone, everywhere. So let's jump right in. First, as we saw in that incredibly moving ad, we are all dealing with a new reality. The COVID-19 pandemic fundamentally shifted the way people engage with each other. Before COVID-19, an estimated 80% of US employees wanted to work from home, at least some of the time, but only around 3.6% actually did. As we reach the end of the pandemic, Global Workplace Analytics estimates that number will look more like 25 to 30%. So the world has changed in a way that we never thought possible, and it has changed for all of us. This created a need to communicate in a different fashion. Google has pivoted our engineering teams to fill this gap, and we have about 2 billion people today that use Google who are depending on our innovation and our ingenuity. So we developed Meet to allow friends to talk to friends, coworkers to talk to coworkers, teams to teams, and leadership to employees. Never before have we seen anything like this, and we will meet this challenge head on. So at Google, we have been deeply invested in this business for more than a decade. Video conferencing has been a critical component of our success at a global as a global company. We pioneered video meeting with Hangouts. So I'm sure everybody remembers Google Hangouts from 2012, 15, GChat, etc. And that's when video and chat were available to all consumers. We've learned that video first culture is critical to effective collaboration across teams. And in 2018, we introduced a new enterprise grade product, Google Meet, bringing top of the line security, reliability, and manageability to video meetings. And in the past year, we've seen the value of that investment in infrastructure. As you can imagine, during COVID-19, we witnessed an unprecedented increase in the demand for video conferencing. And Google's secure, reliable global infrastructure enabled us to scale to demand and still deliver consistently on high quality performance for our Google Meet users. So let's take a look at how Meet works.
If your admin set up Hangouts Meet for your organization, starting a virtual meeting is easy. You can start an instant meeting in a web browser. Just go to meet.google.com and click Start or Join a Meeting. To add someone to a meeting, you can click Copy and paste the meeting details into an email or another app. Or click Add People and choose from the available options. And if someone sends you a meeting link URL, simply click the link to join the call. To learn more about starting a Hangouts Meet video meeting, go to google.com and search for Start Hangouts Video Meeting. Thanks for watching.
So the only thing that is a little off there is the branding. It's not Hangouts, it's not Hangouts Meet, it's not Hangouts Chat, it's just Google Meet. And it's not Google Meets either, just Meet. But from there, I'm gonna hand it over to Javier, who will walk you through some of the features. Thank you.
Thanks for setting the scene, Erica, and thank you all for joining today. Now I'd really like to just jump into how Meet actually works and what are some of the features that you could be utilizing to really take your productivity and experience through video conferencing to the next level. So jumping right in, as the video kind of alluded to, Google Meets is just really easy to join, right? When you've created a meeting and you have that meeting link, whether you're using the app or interacting through the calendar or just a link that someone sent you, it's typically just a one-click entry. So once you click to join that Meet, if you are part of that organization, you could just join directly. If you're outside of the organization, the person hosting the call can just allow you to join that meeting. So it makes it really simple, at least through the online version. You don't have to enter a code once you've been added to that meeting, but still gives you the added security of the administrator having to choose to let you in if you are someone that's coming in from outside of that organization. So another really great thing about Meet is that it just has a lot of capacity to host folks for video conferencing. So if you are using the enterprise version of Meet, you can have up to 250 participants all in the same call. So that means that you can host some pretty big collaborative meetings through the platform. Even at the lower level enterprise version, which is the essential workspace version, you can still have up to 150 participants. And with the standard Meet, which is the free version, you can still have up to 100 participants. So again, you still have a lot of capacity to just host some pretty expansive meetings and collaborate with folks that you're working with within your organization or across different areas and organizations that you work with. You're also able to live stream if you are trying to, if it's within your organization. So organization being your actual workspace organization. So everyone that works and is sharing the same enterprise access, you're able to live stream to all of those folks up to 100,000 participants. I know for folks in the civic space, that number probably seems a little bit huge, but it's really helpful if your organization has more than 250 staff, and you would still like to host an all-hand Teams meeting or communicate an important message from leadership, all of that kind of stuff. So it's still a really useful tool if you are using the enterprise version and want to organize a much larger meeting than that 250 person capacity that I talked about. Next, another really cool feature about Meet is that you're able to seamlessly present your whether that's a screen, a tab, so that if, let's say, you are collaborating with your teammates and you want to share a presentation and walk through it, or you want to share your entire screen and just talk through changes as you're making edits to a presentation, you're able to do that as well. If you want to just do a group activity and present your screen so that you can share like results of, let's say, a quiz. Like a team quiz that you're doing, stuff like that, makes it really seamless to do that. And it's just one click. You can just, at the bottom right of Meet, you can just click present now, and it'll give you the option to present several different options. Or you can go to g.co/present and just enter the meeting ID and share what screen you want to present to. So that's it's still really easy and simple to use. So. And then another great thing that has kind of changed over the last year in Meets is the layouts that we offer. Now you have a variety of different adaptive layouts that you'll have. First, you can choose between, whether you want like tile view, like the one that you see on the screen now, but you can also have a variety of different layouts, like whether you want spotlight to just showcase like one screen, whoever's presenting or sharing information for other folks on the meeting, or more of a dynamic layout, which will bring forward whoever's speaking at that time to front and center, while showcasing other folks on the meeting somewhere off on the left. One of the other cool things that you can do is, particularly with this tile view, is you can actually adjust the number of people that will appear on the screen. So let's say, there are 20 people on your call, but right now you're only seeing six or 9 or whatever that number might be. You can actually expand it to up to 32 different tiles, so you can have as many people as you can fit into that space on that meeting. So again, it's especially as we're doing remote work nowadays, you want to make sure that you're able to see your colleagues and folks that you're collaborating with, so you can follow visual cues and all that other stuff. So yeah, that's a really cool feature that I'm excited about as well. And then one of the things that you can also do through Meet is you can chat in real time. So that's really helpful if you all are, let's say, referencing a website or want to direct folks to a particular link. Let's say, you all you're working on a document and the link to that document got lost in someone's inbox. So you just want to drop that link so that you can quickly begin collaborating. Just being able to use that chat is really helpful. You're able to provide feedback or whatever it is that you want to communicate while the meeting is going on, without necessarily having to interrupt someone as they're speaking or making a presentation and all that. So chat's just a really helpful way to keep the conversation going without slowing it down or bringing it to a halt. And as Erica mentioned before, and as the video alluded to, joining Meet is just really simple. You have the option to join through that link that's generated when you create a Meet meeting, or through a calendar invite, all that. But you're also able to dial in from a number. So, I mentioned that one-click joining, it makes it really simple on web. Well, you can still call in. It's still simple, but you will need to enter a dial-in PIN. But again, once you've done that, you'll be able to join the call and participate, even though you might not be on video. And one of the most exciting features that we rolled out in Meet is just live captioning. Live captioning uses Google's AI to do speech to text in real time. So this is really helpful if you have any participants in your meeting that are, hard of hearing or deaf, or if simply you're just someone who finds it more easy to follow along the meeting. If you have some text aid, as folks are speaking. This is again, because it's built on Google's AI, it does a really great job at tracking that speech and providing the best possible live captioning. So particularly if you're hosting public meetings where you don't know what the hearing capacity of your guests are going to be, this is a really helpful way to just remind folks at the top of the call that they can enable this feature, so that as you get going, you can feel confident that none of your communication is going to be missed or misunderstood. And one of the most fun features that you can also integrate into your calls is going to be polls, right? So you can create a poll to increase interactivity during those calls and encourage, pose a question to folks. Could be something work related, could also be something more fun that you can introduce at the top of a call just as an icebreaker, and then have a short conversation with participants before you get going into business. But you can also just introduce Q&A, right? So oftentimes you're on a call and folks have questions. Maybe they drop it in the chat, or maybe they wait to the end of the call to pose the question. Sometimes it could get lost in chat, or sometimes the person might forget the question as more issues are discussed. So you can always encourage folks to utilize the Q&A function. That way it creates a simple way for you to track questions as they're coming in, and even provide answers. As let's say you're a team member that are working together on something, you can even provide answers to those Q&As as one of your teammates is presenting, or go to the Q&A at the end of the call and get to them directly. So it just creates makes it really simple to track the questions that you're receiving, and also with the polls, it just makes those calls a little bit more fun and engaging, make sure that folks stay plugged in. Now, one of my favorite things about Meet is actually the hand raising function. I know that we've all been part of calls where and maybe it's 20, maybe it's 30, maybe it's even more participants that are on a call, right? And you're having a really important conversation, and you don't want, you want to get your thoughts in and share your feedback or insights. But so do several other people on the call, and that can become very chaotic very quickly. So with the hand raising function, it actually alleviates some of that tension, which you can actually just click on the hand raising button that you see there on your screen, and then it will log your request to speak in chronological order in which it was received, so that way you can wait your turn and provide your insight or feedback, and then the moderators of that call can have a really easy way to track whose turn it is to speak, and you can carry a meeting in a really orderly fashion. And then another really fun thing, and I know I said I've used the word fun a lot because there's just so much fun to be had on Meet. But one of the things that's also fun is utilizing Jamboard that's integrated into Meet as well. So Jamboard is like a whiteboard tool that you can use to sketch out ideas in like a Canvas type format. There you can actually just draw things onto that whiteboard. You can add sticky notes, you can add shapes, you can drop images, right? So it's a really interesting way for you all to collaborate, particularly if you're thinking through some creative considerations and or just grappling with some different ideas, or trying to throw ideas at the board. This is the board that you could be using. So Jamboard, really fun to use, really simple and easy way to collaborate in a way that's visually engaging and still productive. And then for those of you who, let's say you are, working from home, and sometimes you have your roommates or your family or children running around in the background, and you just want to make sure that you kind of preserve the presentation that you have on your screen. You can also blur your backgrounds, right? So that folks, when they're on the call, are really only engaging with you and not getting distracted by anything that might appear in the background. You can set different levels of blur. You can have a light blur, or even a much heavier blur that might obscure even some minor motions in the background. Something that's also really exciting that you can do is you can set some custom backgrounds as well. So that's something that's really going to allow you to show your personality and flair on some of these calls as well. But if you want to keep it simple, blur is one of the easiest ways to just accomplish that as well. And now with noise cancellation, and this is something that I find extremely helpful because there's always construction going on outside of my apartment window. But with Google's noise cancellation, it's extremely effective at drowning out any sort of environmental or ambient noise that might be in the background. So this is something that I've noticed on many calls where I think everyone on the call is like being distracted by some construction that might be going on. But with Google Meet, the great thing about it is that more often than not, you'll realize that the audio that's coming through is largely focused on your voice and the things that are happening in your immediate vicinity. And then if for those of you who are organizing meetings and that are really important, but not all your stakeholders or partners are able to join that meeting, you're also able to record those and then share them out afterwards. Once you record a meeting, it's saved in the cloud using Google Drive. So you can share it with those people that missed the meeting or even for the folks who did attend the meeting so that they can refer back to the discussion. And you might want to, maybe you want to upload it to YouTube if it was a public conversation that you were trying to hold so that other folks can utilize that, the learnings or information sharing that meeting as well. So it makes it really simple to record and share out afterwards. So what are some things that you all should be thinking about when doing on-demand meetings? So, sorry. The meeting is saved in MP4 format in Drive. It's recorded in 720p resolution, so it's still going to be pretty high resolution. But if you're looking for 1080p, that recording is not going to kind of meet that standard. So just keep that in mind when you're recording. Any text files that accompany video for any chat sent during the meeting recording, so they will appear on the screen. So as chat notifications enter and you're recording the screen, those will come through as well. And then those are going to also, if you're recording the meeting, also be able it's going to require Google Workspace enterprise licensing if you're going to share that externally outward. Great. Okay, and one of the things that I'm most excited about when it comes to Meet is actually going to be the moderation controls, right? I know that sometimes, particularly when you're organizing, and I know this could be the case if you're, I'd say, working on the Hill or in legislative government at the state level or anything like that. Sometimes those meetings can get a little bit unruly, and you want to make sure that you, as the chair or a moderator for that meeting, that you keep control of everything. So the moderation tool is going to allow you to do that. And we're working on rolling this out, but it does accomplish certain things like, one, controlling who can present, right? Which obviously is super important so that folks are not interrupting other people's presentations. You can choose to mute all participants as they're entering the meeting so that, someone who's joining isn't inadvertently saying something that they weren't, intending to share with the rest of the group. You can require those participants, once they've been muted, to request that they be unmuted, right? So that you have full control of who can speak and when they can speak. And then you can also lock meetings so that once everyone is in place, no one else can join, right? So if you know that this is the set number of participants that are going to be part of that, once all those folks are on there, you're able to lock that meeting and prevent others from, let's say, bombing that meeting, as the expression would say. And obviously the last piece is if you are the moderator and you end the call, you can enable a setting that will automatically kick everyone else from the call once you leave, if that's a concern of yours as well. Great. And then lastly, the piece that I'm going to touch on is just security, right? Because I think Google security is a priority for Google across all the different products that it builds, and Meet is no different. So because it's built on Google's highly secure network, everything that you are recording or displaying on Meet is going to be encrypted in transit, right? And it's also going to be encrypted in stasis. So like, it's going to be encrypted when it exists in your cloud, in your Google Drive, and it's also going to be encrypted as it's moving through and the meeting is live at that time. So really top level protection. And then obviously, like, it's built on Google's secure by design infrastructure to help protect your data and just safeguard your privacy. Meet's counter abuse and security features are on by default, so you can make sure that there's all the right protections in place for your organization. Meet also adheres to the same like privacy commitments and data protection as the rest of Google Product Enterprise services. So that means that you know that your data is both secure and private across our services. So, and then lastly, I think Meet is also just integrated with all the different products that Andrea talked about, right? Like everything else, Doc, Meet, Sheets, Forms, all of that. It's also part of that broader ecosystem. So it allows you to share links in chat or Gmail to invite others to join those meets. You can easily create and join meetings directly through Google Calendar. You can screen share and present slides, docs, sheets. You can record the meeting and it auto saves to Drive. So like once you're kind of using that workspace ecosystem, it's going to make it really simple for you to just like jump in, jump out, and share and do all the things with those different digital assets that you're going to need to collaborate effectively. Great. So just in summary, just some of the things that you can do with Meet that are really, really helpful. It's really easy to click and join these meetings. You can easily share and present your screen to collaborate and discuss things on your own computer. It has adaptive layouts that will allow you to, have as many folks on the screen as you would like, or really focus on the speakers and give them your full attention as it's happening. You have live closed captioning, which will allow you to follow the conversation more closely, or, just be mindful of folks who are going to be, hard of hearing or deaf, make sure that they're still able to fully participate as well. You can host up to 250 participants. Again, 100 for the standard version of Meet, 150 for the essential version of Workspace. But that's really going to give you a large cap for you to organize these like big meetings with folks even within your organization, or with external stakeholders as well. And then live streaming, if that's a function that you're going to need and you're working for a pretty substantially large organization. And then you can record those meetings, download them to your Drive, watch them later, upload them to YouTube, do whatever is going to be helpful. But again, it has so many different applications, so many different uses, and it's all at your disposal, with Meet. And so lastly, I'm just going to leave you with some resources as to how you can get started with Meet. If you're going to be using the free version for personal use, all you have to do is just be logged in from your Google account and then start using it. For business uses, you can check pricing availability. There are different levels of access, as I mentioned, like the essentials versus the larger enterprise products. So you can check the pricing for that. If you already have Google Workspace, right, and you're an admin, and for some reason folks are not able to use Meet, all you have to do is just enable video calling for the organization, and folks will be able to get right to using the product as well. If you want to learn more about all of that, you can also visit apps.google.com/meet/how-it-works. Complicated, but again, if you just look it up, you'll be able to find all those resources with a quick Google search. So with that, I want to hand it off to my colleague Maria, who's going to talk a little bit about Workspace for nonprofits.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Javi. I really appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk about how you can get some of this stuff for free if you are a nonprofit. So a lot of you have probably heard about Google for Nonprofits. Google for Nonprofits is a wonderful program that you can enroll in if you're a 501c3 to make sure that you are taking advantage of all of the products that Google has to offer. So in looking at Workspace, we went over a ton of different resources that you can go through, whether that's doc, sheets, slides. Andrea and Javi went over, and Erica went over all of the different things that are really relevant in really connecting with those coworkers and to different folks in the space. But there are, of course, more tools that you can use within Workspace. So kind of breaking them up into different buckets, thinking about creating, bringing those projects to life, collaborating with your teammates, collaborating with folks that you're working on projects with. You can use the Jamboard, you can use forms, you can use the site builder. There's all things that you can create your projects and make them come and be together, even though when we're not physically there with one another. And then, of course, connecting, making sure that you're being able to connect over whether that's Gmail or Workspace, Google Meet, chat, and also the calendar. Those invites these days keep me on top of my game. And then, of course, access, making sure that you have access to all the files that you need through Drive, through the cloud space, thinking of those things and really making sure that you have the appropriate controls, but then also that you can find things easily. Our Google search function is just as much alive and well on those Drive pieces as they are on Google search itself. So make sure you take advantage of that. And then, of course, controlling your data, your users as well through the admin functions as well. So that's kind of a good way to think about Workspace and break it up. But those are all tools that you can take advantage of as a nonprofit. So how do you actually enroll? You can go to this lovely Google link here and enroll in G Suite for nonprofits. You can go and sign up for that and all the other tools and products that we offer through Google for Nonprofits. There's YouTube, the YouTube Partner Program, there's Google Ad Grants, there's all sorts of things to take advantage of. But today, of course, we're focusing on Workspace so you can make sure that you have that email for your organization at no cost to you. All right, so what are some resources that you can tap into? Here are some more resources for you. Of course, there's links upon links, but if you ever have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us, or you can put some questions in the comments down below, submit it with the blue button, and we'd be happy to answer it right now. So with that, are there any questions from folks? I see one question here from Jacob about Google Ads. And for anyone that's listening, if you are planning on running any ads as a political organization, you can do that by emailing Civics-Outreach. You can ask us how the political ads verification process goes. You can also set it up on your own through your Google Ads account. I'm going to invite everybody to come back so we can chat through some more questions as well and see what else is there. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I think that was great. I learned so much every time I hear from every other person. So I think the first question here is, when you're utilizing all of these platforms, Andrea, I know you talked about forms. How can you utilize that in a way that we're in a virtual setting? You're not getting those event signups from a form. You're not really doing that. So how can you take advantage of a form while you're at home, maybe remotely? Half your office might be in another part of the country and half might be in one other part. So how do you take advantage of forms in that regard? Oh, Andrea, I don't think I can hear you.
I was muted, sorry. Forms are super interactive and they're living and breathing. So you can constantly make updates to it. You can, as I said, you can track progress really well. So say, you sent out a form to your team and 25% responded. You can send a really great sort of pie chart to your team, just showing, who's responded, who hasn't, making sure you're encouraging people to engage with the form. There's also a lot of features like embedding your own graphics, your own logos, things like that to make sure it fits right for the form that you are using with your audience, whether it's an internal form, it's a form you're using for personal use. I've seen people use it for baby shower invites or collecting newsletter email signups. And so you can really customize it to fit the look and feel of what you're trying to convey through your form to your audience in a virtual way.
Awesome. I think that's really helpful, especially as we continue to work from home. Javi, a question for you. With Google Meet, is there an option to mute and unmute participants as a presenter? Is there a way to create registration and monitor who joins the call?
Yeah, so at any point during the call, you're able to mute a participant as a moderator, but also folks who might not, even if you're not a moderator and you haven't enabled those restrictions, you're able to mute someone who isn't aware that they're unmuted and might have some noise in the background or stuff like that, just to minimize the amount of disruption that might exist on the call. As far as registration goes, one of the great things about seamlessly integrating it with Google Calendar is that you can invite the folks that you want to participate within that call, and then ahead of time also be able to track who's accepted to join, and also as folks are joining, anyone that isn't part of your organization is going to have to request that they join that meeting. So as folks are joining, you're able to either accept or decline their entry into that call. And then once they're in that call, you're going to see a full list of all the participants that are actively that are on that call off on the right-hand side panel. So it's easy to also just do a quick overview of who's participating to make sure that only people that are meant to be on that call are in there.
Awesome. Thanks, Javi. I have one last question here for Erica. For Google Slides, are we able to edit presentations as the presentation is going on? For instance, the presenter is on slide 1, but we need to make edits to slide 5 without the presentations being interrupted.
Yeah, so you do not have to stop a presentation to make any edits. And if you want to make an edit to slide 5 while somebody is on slide 1, that is totally doable. All you have to do is refresh when you get to that slide. So once it won't just be there when you get to that slide 5 or slide 7. You would just have to click refresh, but your edits will be there.
Wonderful. And it's a great way to collaborate. I know, of course, we used Google Slides to make our presentation today. So you can see it in action firsthand on what you can do. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to put them below or contact us at civics-outreach@google.com. We're always here to answer your questions, the 4 of us and a larger team that sits on this email address. So feel free, reach out if you need anything else. I don't see any more questions here in the chat, so we'll wrap it up here. But of course, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at civics-outreach. With that, thanks so much for joining. Of course, we always appreciate it. We'll see you right back here in June. I believe that's Thursday, June 10th. And we'll see you right back here to talk about analytics.